Christian parenting.
Hey, John, welcome back to Pardon the Mess. How are you?
Great to see you again.
I have to tell you a story. So we have the mutual friend Sissy Goff, which I hate. I keep name dropping her like I'm friends with JD Vance. I'm like, so Sissy Goff and I were.
You guys were playing pickleball the other day. I was
right.
Me and Bob Goff, who's not even related to Sissy Goff, but I don't feel like we should have gotten a vote on that. By the way, we have two famous Goffs right now.
I know.
Three,
Everyone
if you count
thinks
Jared Goff. Yeah.
He said when I asked him about her, he was like, I could be her grandfather. I'm like, close enough.
Yeah.
But okay, so she came into Dallas to speak and she's like, let's get some Mexican. I'm like, of course. And she was in downtown Dallas, but I live in the burbs. So I'm like, all right, she's like, just find us something good Mexican. So I made the mistake of emailing or texting a millennial and they're like, Mexican sugar is so good. I'm like, great. So put it in the map. We meet there. I'm telling you, like, these were leather pants, skirt wearing, tall boot Dallas people with like thumping music, bachelorette parties. And you know this world because of Nashville. But I'm like, what have I done? I roll into my mom jeans, like sweatshirt, and Sissy's rolling out with like her bag. And she walks up and I'm like, I'm so sorry. We're like in a scene. Like there was a parking garage. I just felt we were dying. We're like,
you took her to a nightclub and there's 1,000 Mexican restaurants in Dallas.
Exactly.
Like
I took her to a night.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, we're so booked up because it's amazing that we were on the porch and it was like freezing, but she's amazing anyway. And within 3 seconds, I was crying. She was like, how are you? And I'm like, why does she even like immediately therapist? I'm like, I'm okay.
So
I didn't get the book contract I wanted, but
that's
anyway,
funny.
She's amazing. So how's that nightclub scene in Nashville these days?
Great. I love Nashville, and we're in Franklin, so Franklin feels a little disconnected from Nashville, but it's a city that's growing. I mean, Dallas is too. I go to Dallas. I think I'm going to Dallas twice in the next 2 weeks. Like I'm always in Dallas. I do. So you understand growth of a city and opportunities, but yeah, for me, it's such a good community here. Like there's so many artists and interesting people and entrepreneurs. And so you don't feel weird doing a weird job if you live in Nashville.
I feel like I've been going down a weird road of politics these days, but I'm listening to like Joe Rogan and all these people. I swear, Sean Ryan, they're all like, we live in Nashville. I'm like, everybody I know.
Yeah, Sean Ryan's here. Yeah.
It's crazy.
He's right down the road. Yeah, and I think it seems like you go to Austin or you go to Nashville. Like those are the two.
Yeah.
If you want to create content or be an entrepreneur on this side of the country.
I love it. Yeah. I love it. Okay, I have one random question before we get into overthinking. But why do you think, and maybe this is just me heading into a little bit of fear, why do you think we did not care to go to college and like did not look back? And kids these days are like straight up crying, coming home, struggling with the adjustment. What's your theory? I have a theory, but like I did not look back. I'm like, goodbye. I can't wait.
Yeah. You mean you like kicked, like you were like, see you later, high school?
See you later.
Hey, yeah.
I'm not sad about this at all. Like I am like, but there's a lot of people like teary, like college kids. I'm seeing it. My friends are warning me, like maybe it's a girl thing, but it takes them till Christmas to kind of settle in or like, what's your theory on this?
I mean, I think you could say like it's the loneliness epidemic just at college, I think there's a ton of teen loneliness. I think there's the problem is kind of twofold. One, there's a lot of loneliness, and two, there's a lot of fake social community on social media.
Yes.
So you, not only do you feel lonely, you feel like you're the only one who feels lonely because everyone else is like, oh my gosh, here's a photo dump of 17 sorority parties I went to. And if you didn't get to go to one, you go, wow, now I'm watching.
That's fair.
So I think it's that. And then I think it's part of like you and I could disconnect from our old hometowns because we weren't watching ads about them via our friends' accounts. So like when you went to college, you didn't go, I'm going to like, imagine if like some girl that you were loose friends with, casual friends with, sent you photos every week in the mail. Like, hey, just wanted you to know, here's what I'm doing. You'd be like, what? I care about you. But now you have access to so many people's feeds that I think it's harder to leave your town behind because you're constantly reminded of those people. I think
like
that.
One of my theories, and those are all valid points, one of my theories is if we've made their lives too good. It's like, nobody was getting me DoorDash or like picking me up. Or
No.
I'm like a personal assistant to my kids. I'm like, oh, wait, you need a shirt? I'll have it done by 12:10. And so they're going and they're like, crap, where's my 24-hour
We don't DoorDash
admin?
in our family. Our family doesn't DoorDash. Like one of our soundtracks is, which we'll talk about overthinking, is if your legs and car aren't broken, go get food somewhere. Like,
Right.
don't tip $9 at Taco Bell. Like, no, I've never DoorDashed. I tell like young people, I'm not rich enough to DoorDash. That's amazing that you are. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not wealthy enough to do that. And I know, like, of the two of us, which one has had a longer time frame to earn money. Like, you don't have the money. No, we don't DoorDash. I think that's one of the dumbest ways to waste money.
We have DoorDash, and Ron is just putting the hammer down. He's like, you guys, we're not wealthy. We're just lazy, like literally lazy. And he's like, get up and go drive the 2 miles to get the,
No, I'm glad it does. Like, I don't even have it on my phone, and I'm glad I don't. There's certain things that I don't do because I know I'd overdo them. I don't own an Xbox on purpose. I would love an Xbox. I wouldn't be on this. I wouldn't be on this podcast. I'd be like probably doing a quest. And so I don't have an Xbox. And I told a friend that was a boundary for me, I guess. And he was like, and I said, but if somebody's into that and that's their form of like hobby or relaxing, and they do it 20 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day, no problem. And he goes, dude, have you ever met somebody who sets a timer for 20 minutes and only plays 20 minutes of video? Like, what world? Like, of course it's a compulsive activity. It's designed to be compulsive. So for me, DoorDash is one of those things that was like, I can't even open the door. Like, I just can't.
You're right. Dang it. All right. Deleting the app. Okay. So read this today and I was like, John, this is ridiculous. You've written 10 books in 14 years. That's insane.
Yeah.
It's like you're a writer. Look at that. And so even soundtrack, the topic we're going to talk about today, 200,000 copies. That's a lot of people, indicates to me,
that was a fun one.
It indicates to me I'm not alone in my overthinking. So my first question is this a human thing? This overthinking personality, girl thing, mom thing, or is it just all skate? Everyone overthinks. What is it?
I think it's all skate. I mean, the PhD professor that I work with, this guy, Mike Peasley, he's a researcher. We asked 10,000 people if they overthink, and 99.5% of people said yes. So at least those 10,000, and we did a huge sample size because political articles are always like 50% of Republicans think this or 50% of Democrats. But if you read the article, the bottom says we asked 11 people. So we asked 10,000 people, and it was like, so yeah, I think it's a human thing. I don't think it's any gender. I don't think it's, now you could say there's certain personalities that are more prone to it. Like, I think if you have a high stress personality, maybe you do it more often. Yeah, same. That's why
I'd say it's because I'm so thoughtful. I care so much, which is just BS. It's like, I really do care, but I care way too much what people think or what they might, all that. But the other reason it came up is I have a small group of girls at church. I've had them since they were freshmen. They're all seniors. And this one girl, like, emailed me every day or texted me every day last week. I'm overthinking. I can't get out of it. It was about a relationship. And then it came up at group last week. And they're all like, this is the what I spend my day doing. I'm like in a loop. And I was like, I've got a book for you. So I sent them all your link to your book that you wrote with your daughters, your new playlist. But
awesome.
Tell me the dangers. Like, why is this just like, oh, that's part of life? Like, what's the harm in overthinking?
Well, the big danger is it steals your time, your creativity, and your productivity. Like, that costs time. Overthinking is swallowing time. And what is life made of? Time. So if you, like, it makes you miss opportunities. It slows decisions. It makes you tell stories that aren't true. It hurts relationships. Like, if you text somebody, let's take the girls in your small group, and that girl sends the boy a text and he doesn't respond for an hour or maybe 2 hours, maybe all day, because he's a boy and he's not great at communication because he's 17 and his brain's not done yet. But like, she spends her real time thinking about that, telling a story, going, he's mad at me. What did I say wrong? Or is he talking to somebody else? Like, those are real hours she could have done something really beautiful with or really impactful with.
Yeah.
And then she's more prone to be in an argument with him because she's already had the argument. Like, she's already, like, by the time he does respond, there's no way it goes well because she's already had the argument.
And made up elaborate stories. Like, I could get an Academy Award for the things that I concoct in my mind. And then you get there and the person's like, oh, I'm sorry, I left my phone at home. And you're like, I mean, I
was busy. Yeah.
I went so far that, like, our friendship is over and you left your phone at home. Like, what the?
Yeah, and you go, who leaves their phone at home? I never leave my phone at home. Like, I do. My wife is that way. Like, she doesn't care about her phone. And so many times I've called her from our house to wherever she is, and the phone rings next to me. And I'm like, oh, there's her phone. There's her. And I'm one of those people who's like, on my phone, it's like I don't have my left leg. Like, I wouldn't walk out of the house without a leg. But that's why it's dangerous. It costs you time. It costs you opportunity. It's not productive. It makes you feel terrible.
Right.
There's no upside to doing it.
Okay, and why do you think we do, and you call them broken soundtracks in the book, but why do you think they're always negative? Like, why can't I just ruminate and spin on, you're a child of God, you're great, Court, your family loves you. Yeah. Like, I'm not spinning on those thoughts all day.
Well, a soundtrack I use is fear comes free, hope takes work. Fear comes free,
say
hope
that
takes
again.
work.
Fear
comes free, hope takes work. You never have to go look for fear or doubt or stress or anxiety. It'll find you, often in the grocery store when you're doing something completely unrelated. But hope takes work. Like, it just does. And so our brains have what scientists call a negativity bias, where we're biased to negativity. And part of it is a protection mechanism that sometimes gets out of control. And I've heard people go like, oh, this is because we were cavemen and we had to be careful about saber-toothed tigers. And I'm kind of like, so it's their fault that I worry that a bag won't get on the plane on overhead? Like some caveman screwed me 4,000 years ago? I knew it wasn't my fault. I knew it. It's not my fault. There was a caveman that did this to me. So like, I don't know about that. I'm not a neuroscientist, but there is negativity bias, meaning you over-focus on the negative. And so you have to work on the positive. It's kind of, I always like another soundtrack I say is awesome is never accidental. It's never accidental. I've never met somebody who accidentally got in shape, who said, yeah, I didn't even mean to get in shape. I was just binge watching Netflix. Next thing I knew, I was doing burpees in the living room. I don't even remember getting off the couch. Like, awesome marriages, never accidental. Awesome careers, never accidental. Awesome mindsets, never accidental. And so you have to work on it. And the big kind of core idea of soundtracks is, what if those thoughts could work for you, not against you? Like the lesson, a lot of books are like, stop thinking, stop overthinking. My thing is, what a gift if you apply it the right way. Like, and the fun way to say that is, if you can worry, you can wonder. If you can doubt, you can dare. If you can spin, you can soar. Like, a plane can drop a bomb or food. A syringe can deliver poison or medicine. Your thoughts are the same way. Like, you can tell them what you want them to be. And it's not as hard as we sometimes make it out to be when we talk about mindset.
All right, tell me what that looks like for you, because we're both faith-based people and I love Jesus. And this girl was saying, like, I pray for this all the time. But she's hoping, and God could do it, but she's hoping because she's like, Lord, this is a problem, that he will just click it in her mind. And so why does it take us taking action and praying like, Lord, I don't want to be thinking about this all day? So how do you merge, I guess, practical, you have a mind and a will, with also being faith, thinking about God in the equation?
Yeah, I mean, to that specific thought, I always go, why would he close the door I enter the most? Like, why would a God who desires relationship with me take away the only thing I'm coming to him for? Like, if I'm praying 50 times a day, take this thing away, why would he go, I'll take it away and then I won't see you for a year? That sounds great. No, he's like, I'm going to work on this with you. I'm going to walk through this valley with you, but I'm not going to magically fix this thing, because right now, like, no offense, it's like 99% of our relationship. Like, why would he end that? Like, so I think about it that way. But the overthinking, I mean, the Bible begs us to be deliberate about our thoughts. Like, renew your mind, take every thought captive, think on what's noble and true and beautiful. So I just think we haven't made it a practice. And so for me, that can look like, memorizing scripture. It can look like the way I pray. It can look like, at the beginning of the day, God, I'd love to see your hand today. Like, give me eyes to see your hand today. And then noticing the moments where that happens. And now I'm present to that. So it looks like a lot of different things, but I feel like it's 100% in line with how he made us. And he's deliberate about saying, like, no, I need you to renew your mind, and like, or cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. Like, that's a process. It's not one time. It's not, and so that's how I think about it, is I do it in ways like that, where, and then also paying attention to like what I learned from other people, like, and going, oh, God brought that person. So that's kind of how I think about it. What would you say are verses you do that with? Like, what are Courtney's cornerstone verses?
A cornerstone verse. I don't know why this immediately popped in my head, but I remember when I grew up skiing and my dad would just pummel me on the slopes, like, better form, squash the grape with your big toe. And we would just be skiing over and over again, like we were professionals. I'm like, why are we still on this mountain? And I would always say, I could do all things through Christ who strengthens me. over and over and over again. Cause I'm like, if I can just nail this, I can get off this flipping mountain because I'm freezing. But what happened to me the other day is I started, and that's just what I heard from the girls the other night. They were like, well, that's just me. I'm an overthinker. Everyone knows it. I'm like, but like, if you have a tendency to overthink, how long are you staying in this loop? And so
yeah, but see, the problem. Okay, go ahead.
Well, come back to that. What I found the other day, I got a rejection on a book thing. It kicked open a door to some insecurity. I started spiraling quickly, and I'm like, I know what to do. Spiraling, but I called my friend Jeannie Cunyon, and I was like, all right, this kind of opened the door. I know what is true, but I need you to kind of boss me back in it. And she was like, so she, like, it wasn't even 30 minutes where 10 years ago, my first book, it would have been weeks that I would just been ruminating. What do I do with my life? Yeah. I'm not a writer. I'm a fraud, And so that's what I told them the other day. It's like, y'all got to stop it sooner. Like, just like you said, it cannot steal weeks of your time. Maybe it steals a morning, but it's not going to take weeks of your time to get involved. So any of that, what did I interrupt you for?
Well, I was just going to say, like, I'm fine throwing pity parties. Just throw shorter pity parties. Like, you should process it. You should say this thing hurt, but like, just throw shorter ones, because it's not honest. If something bad happens, it's not helpful or honest to go, I didn't even care. I didn't care about that book, whatever. Like, that's not honest either. And God's not going to honor that. And so, like, I'm fine doing it. Just like, be deliberate about it. And you were deliberate about it. And then with the girls saying I'm an overthinker, I think you just have to listen to your labels. What are the labels you give yourself? Like, I meet people in their 40s that'll go, well, I'm just not good at math. I'm not good at numbers. And I say, forever? Like, forever? Like, you might live 40 more years. You have to do taxes. Like, what do you mean but we have these labels that we start to believe when you're teenagers, and then we just reinforce them. Like, we listen to soundtracks that are broken for 30 or 40 years, and then we're surprised that they come up so fast. Well, of course we do. We've memorized those songs. We've memorized the song, I'm an overthinker, I'll always be this way, or I'm bad at math, and then I love that you said boss. The way I think about it is, like, I have an idea. I'm working on a new book, and one of the ideas, who knows if it'll make it in, is can we bring back a little bit of bullying? Like, just a little. Not all of it, but a little. Because, like, occasionally my wife I'll say, I would call it bullying, where I'll go, if I'm in a moment where I'm stressed out and I'm kind of like, hey, I'm thinking about going to Crazy Town. Will you buy a ticket to ride on this train? She's like, nope. And she'll say, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. And you know what? I'm fine. And so, like, she we use that phrase in our house. Like, if like one of my kids doesn't want to go clothes shopping, but it's like, I don't have anything to wear, we're like, oh, we're going to have to bully you into clothes shopping. Like, we're going to go try on a bunch of jeans, like whatever it is. So I love that your friend was like, hey, I love that you reached out, because I think that's huge. And two, I love that she was like, hey, no, here's what's true. Like, hey, and then I love that you got to celebrate the progress of 10 years ago. It would have done this. Yeah. And now it did this. Like, and I hope 10 years from now, it's even shorter. Like, I hope 10 years from now, it's even shorter. But what great progress for you.
Yeah, I'm excited. And we do it for each other. But, any places that you're vulnerable and you're like, I put myself out there. Why did I do that? And I think that's what I'm noticing from the girls. A lot of them the other night said it typically has to do with relationships, because they're like reading way into what a 17-year-old boy says and all that. And so it's just balance of like saying you're normal, but it doesn't have to take over your life, for sure, which is hard at 18 years old for them to think of.
They have nothing else. Like, that's the thing. There was a study that said that your brain interprets even just fake social trauma. So like trauma inside a lab where they go, imagine you didn't get invited to the party. Imagine there's nowhere for you to sit at the cafeteria table. Just saying that triggers the same release of hormones as getting hit in the face with a brick. Same hormones as getting hit in the face with a physical brick. And you go, so I always tell parents, don't say to kids, it's not a big deal. Like, that's not helpful. Like, like the one that I used to say that was not helpful advice would be like, I don't even talk to anybody from high school anymore. Like, who cares? Like, that's not helpful. They don't go, thanks, Dad. That's good feedback. Because their whole world, their brain is telling them, like, you just got hit in the face with a brick.
Okay, that's so good.
And so that helps me kind of go, oh, yeah, that's what they're dealing with right now. How do I provide some truth in this, but not, like, try to fix it by saying, I don't know anybody 30 years later from high school. That doesn't help anybody.
So good. All right, a thing or two about teens. You've got two college girls right now. And so Soundtracks, guys, became another book, your new playlist that you wrote with your daughters. And then you just had a new one come out, right? How Teens Win. Is that correct? Did they help you with that one too?
They did. So we did two together, your new playlist and How Teens Win.
Okay, what did you learn? I know you have like a lab right in front of you with your girls, but what did you learn about teens through writing the last one?
Well, I think the thing I learn every time I do a project with my daughters is the things I think they're stressed about usually aren't the things, and other things are the things. And so I think if you don't spend a lot of time with teenagers, you develop kind of cultural ideas about teenagers.
Agreed.
It's kind of, you see this with politics too, where like the internet especially reduces people to ideas, not individuals. And so you go, I hate this type of person. And then you go, well, your neighbor, Matt, that's what he believes. You go, oh, no, that's Matt. I love Matt. And you're like, because he's an individual, like versus like they're just an idea. So I think that's what I always learn is that, because I would go, hey, here's 10 things I think teenagers are stressed about or excited about. And they go, no, this times 10, or like, hey, here's like one thing I learned from my 21-year-old just the other day. We went to parents weekend and her friend Jaden said, hey, Ellie's my daughter, doesn't have Instagram on her phone. And I was like, I didn't know that. Like, why don't you have Instagram? And she said, well, it's just too good. Like, they get me too easily. So she said, I use the web browser on my laptop because it's slow and clunky and I'm not as tempted. And then if I want to post a photo, because she posts photos, I'll install the app and then delete it. And so we didn't make her do that. Like, and I texted her a week later. I was like, I'm so proud of how you set that boundary. Like, that's really amazing. But I think she just looked at the landscape of her life and was like, this is taking 20 hours a week from me. Like, and I'm in a college situation where I live in a sorority house with real people. Like, I'm going to miss those real people unless my hope is that their generation will be the one that goes, we've seen them have a really hard time with social. So we're going to go ahead and not do it the same way. And we're going to correct it in our lives to a degree.
What are you and your wife loving about this parenting phase? I mean, I'm in that spot, and I've heard you joke about it where I'm like, it's the last choir concert. Like and I texted my Jeff Henderson's wife, Wendy, this morning, and she said the anticipation is worse than the actual thing. Like, you're freaking out about what it's going to be like in 6 months when she's going to be fine. Like, stop crying. But I am like, I did good all of fall. And now that it's like 100 days away, I like find myself in the grocery store, like tearing up. So what do you know? Talk to us, the ones that are freaking out about empty nest days ahead. What do you know about parenting now?
Yeah, so this is funny. I posted a reel where I was like, because my daughters, it snowed. They were home over Christmas break. It snowed and they went out to make a snowman together. And I thought, oh, I'll go do that. But then I realized if I go out, it changes the whole dynamic. Like when they're by themselves, they get to be friends. That's one of the lessons of parenting is they need to have group texts you're not on. They need to do stuff you don't show up for. Like, because when a parent shows up, it makes them back into siblings and old roles come out versus let them
never
go be
heard
friends. That. Yeah, I'm very smart. And so I did a video where I was like, hey, this is why I'm not going outside. Like, I'm so excited for them. And somebody said, you should do that. You never know when the last time will be, like, blah, 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 blah. And I don't believe in the last time. And part of the reason is when I told Jenny that, Jenny said, you know, my dad is here and I'm 47 and we could have built a snowman today. So the last time is a lie. It's a huge lie. Yeah. So so that part I'd say is a lie. The other thing is they come home more than you think. You get to see them more than you think. I would say the hard thing that nobody told me, like, I think there's 100 books written for parents of little kids. I think there's like one for parents of adult children. Like,
okay, can you get on that, please?
Yeah, so it's harder. Like, I didn't know, and I talked to somebody about this who's probably 15 years older than me, and I said, man, it feels hard. And he said, well, you've always wanted them to be successful, happy, etc., but now the stakes are higher. Now it's a divorce. Like, you thought when they were sophomores in high school, if they don't make the volleyball team, this is the worst thing that's ever. And now when they're 27, 28, they get a divorce. Like, the stakes for the things you're worried and praying about are higher and bigger.
That's so true.
So I just think that's what I'm learning a lot in this season is I have less and less control. They need to do it themselves. Like, I can help a little bit, but they need to do it themselves because they need the lesson and the rep and all the stuff. And I don't control it. And the stakes are higher. And that's I wasn't ready for that, I'd say.
That's so true. Well, go ahead and write that one next. I read a meme the other day, and I'm going to botch it, but it was something like the person that you can't live without, you've trained and raised to now live without you. And I'm like, but it's like you want them to.
You need to stop reading these memes. Let me tell you a couple of things. You're crying because you know how many days left. Like, don't count them, dude.
Somebody else posted it. Somebody else posted it.
Mute that person. Mute that. Like that. That's so funny. Like, and I said this
I'm
to you
like
before.
punching myself in the face.
Yeah. And you're like, why is my nose hurt as you hit yourself? Like, no, I don't want you listening to Butterfly Kisses. I don't want you like whatever terrible song.
These are the days.
These are the days. Yeah, they go by so fast. Like, yeah, celebrate the good stuff that's about to happen, because so many good things happen, and you have to have open hands. Like, it really forces you to have open hands, and you really get to spend a lot of time with God and be like, all right, God, like, I didn't know I was a control freak. Turns out
I know. And Ron's like, can you hang out with me now? It's been some time. So I'm like, yeah, the marriage should tick up a little bit on the hanging out phase. But I
don't know. Your dog is pretty needy. I think that dog's going to drive a small wedge between you. If King
I come
Charles.
Home and the dog is missing, Ron absolutely put it on Facebook and just said, somebody come get a Cavalier. He's
Dude,
ready
and they'll
to
come. Cavaliers move, I bet, on Facebook. Like, it's not. Hey, by the way, good for you not getting a doodle. Like, did you know you can buy other dogs? Were you aware that?
Hush your mouth.
Yeah.
You hush your mouth. There's a lot of reasons I went for this ridiculous.
Do you have tons of doodles?
No, I had 0 dogs, and I didn't want any dogs, and I think they smell and they're gross. And then I had a little one that had a major incident with a dog and was like crying and crawling up us at 10. And Sissy, it's all her fault, was like, you can take her to cognitive behavioral therapy or you can get a dog. So then I searched calm, lap dog, not jumpy, not doodly. And it was like Cavalier, and it was $1 million. And I'm like, Ron, I just ordered this dog. Give me your next bonus. Thank you very much. And so she's been awesome. But
that's great. When I was a kid, I was scared of a Ferrari. Like, a Ferrari was really loud, so I'm gonna just get a Ferrari.
Yeah, I'll tell Sissy you applied
tell
that.
Sissy that I've applied. Like, a Ferrari ran over like a balloon in the street, and from that moment on, I've been terrified of Ferraris.
So now it's pulling in the driveway.
That's so funny.
Amazing.
Where does this dog sleep? Hold on. Where does this dog sleep?
I want to talk to you about this. Between, like, all over me, between us, on the
bed. On the bed.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
I know. It's a problem. I already had to confess.
I feel like Ron should be on this podcast. Me and Ron need to have a conversation.
Look,
I don't even know Ron. I don't even know him.
He needs a support group for the dog, for sure. But all right, tell me about your event. I actually was at the Nashville airport the other day, and I was like, that's the seat where I completely stalked Jon Acuff and just went up and tapped his shoulder. I'm like, I'm that girl. It's like, followed you for years. Hey.
I'm very approachable, though. Like, whenever somebody's like, oh, hey, You're not
like this. Like, people are like, headphone out.
No, I think it's fun. Like, I always tell my wife, I have the best level of like, fame's even too big of a word, best level of notoriety, because people come up and give me compliments in public places.
Yes.
And then they come up and go, hey, you're great at your job. I just wanted you to know. I go, oh, thank you. And then they walk away. And like, that never happens if you're an accountant. Like, nobody comes up and goes, hey, I love how you do taxes. I just wanted you to know. Like, state and federal, so good. And then they leave. So no. So the event, you asked about the event.
Okay, yes. Tell me what's coming up.
Yeah, so we're doing an event called Remarkable You. It's April 14th and 15th in Franklin, where I live. And I think there's going to be about 500 people. And it's 2 days. It's just me. And I'm teaching people, how do you build a remarkable life? Because I'm a big believer that there are some very deliberate things you do to create a remarkable life. And I've been writing and researching around that topic for the last 10 to 12 years. And it was finally time to do a live event.
I love it. What I imagine is that your audience is going to be pretty varied, because I feel like the people that read your stuff is anything from like a corporate CEO to me. And you know what I mean? So do you feel like when you look out, you're going to have such a medley of people?
Yeah, that's what's been fun. It's funny you mentioned a CEO. There's a CEO of one of the largest law firms in the country that was like, hey, I bought a VIP ticket, can't wait. And then the other thing that's happening is people are bringing families. So like my friend Jenny Urick, you would love her. You should have her on this podcast.
Okay.
She does this thing called 1,000 Hours Outside, which is just fantastic. And she's coming with her husband and their 2 teenagers. And then like couples are coming because they're like, we want to dream together as a couple. So the reason that happens, I think, is that I don't do niche content, meaning, and in some ways I wish I did, because I think it'd be easier some days, like where people are like, the niches are where the riches are. And if you only talk about like how to do house paint in Southwest Arizona, you can really niche your message. But my thing is, I don't want, like, I don't want to have a fantastic business and a terrible marriage. Like, I don't want to have a fantastic marriage and a terrible business. Or I don't want to be in really good shape, but my kids don't like me. Like, so I look out and go, there's a lot of influencers where you go, oh, you're on your 7th marriage, or, oh, you're really unhappy spiritually. You've got a ton of money, but this other part. So I'm much more like, what would it take to have a whole life that's remarkable? Because I think it's possible. And like, it's not that it's automatic by any means, but I think it can be done. And I think a lot of the same principles that help you in one area apply to the other. And so that's why the audience is varied. And part of the reason, I think, is because I approach it from a whole life perspective.
I love it.
Not a niche.
I love it. Let me ask you, because I have a couple of people already in mind. I'm like, I'm sending it to it. So what do you think? Talk to me about, you envision them coming in feeling this, and then they leave with what? Like, what is your goal as they leave?
Here's my thing. My best ideas, my best books, my best speeches always have 3 things in common. And I believe this is true for anybody that wants to do kind of nonfiction, self-help, personal development. So you need a relatable problem. So you need a problem that people will raise their hand for and go, oh, I've got that. So the reason soundtracks did well was I asked, do you ever struggle with overthinking? And people go, oh, I got that. Like, they could say that. So it has to be I try to ask questions nobody can say no to. So like finish. I wrote a book called Finish about perfectionism. And the question there was, is it ever hard for you to finish the things you start? Nobody says, no, I finish everything. I finish it all the time. Everything, like, everybody's like, no, raise my hand. Yeah, that's me. I got that. Yeah. So the second thing I need is a simple solution. It has to be simple, like, so that I can execute it. People are so busy. The times I've had ideas that didn't work is because I said, Courtney, I've got a 17-step framework that if you just, and then the third thing is a compelling reward. If you do this thing, this is what happens. So for this event, the relatable problem is procrastination. I think people are waiting. Like, I think that part of the problem is it's the most well-funded fear in modern history. If you think about it, because perfectionism isn't funded by Instagram. Procrastination is. Perfectionism isn't funded by Netflix. Procrastination is. There is a $5 trillion industry after your time trying to get you to procrastinate. And so it's really well funded. And so the problem is procrastination. The solution I'm going to offer is permission. So how do you give yourself permission to do this? There's a lot of people waiting for permission. And so I'm going to teach you how to give yourself permission to build the life you want. And the reward is that remarkable life. So that's the compelling reward. So that's what I see happening. We're going to have a shelf in there that people can put the books they've written. Like, because people mail me the books they've written after they read my content. And so, like, our team is obsessed with your results. Like, we're going to outcare our competition. That's one of the things we say. Like, we're going to outcare the competition because it hasn't worked. Like, I'll know the event is a success when 3 months later you send me a photo of your decluttered attic. Or 6 months later you send me an invitation to your MBA graduation, because that happens. And so we're obsessed with your results. That's when we know it's worked. And I'm going to get to, talk to 500 people and be super, super encouraging. Yeah, it'll probably be 6 or 7 hours of content. So it'll be really tactical, really practical, but really fun. And the way
I might just show up. I might just grab my brother and show up. So if there's tickets,
does he
be
live
ready.
Here?
He's in Atlanta. He's in Atlanta, but he's a coach and used to be a pastor, and we are wired very similarly. He's great. And so
which part of Atlanta is he in?
He is in Southside, so Tyrone.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, he's great. We almost went to Bob Goff's thing, and the date didn't work out. But for years, we've been saying he's 9 years younger than me. And so for years, we're like, we just need to go on a brother-sister field trip and dream a little together. So
it is the stuff we're doing, like the opening story and the closing story. Like I've already written the content. So for me, as a content creator, I'm 2 months ahead of having already written the content. Like, I am just going to continue to work on it. Like, it's going to be so fun. And so, I can't wait.
I'll let you know. Wait. So when we're recording this, I imagine there's still tickets left. Who knows what will happen?
Yeah, totally.
Okay. Hey, thank you for saving my tush. And this was really helpful because, like, practically I can go back to my small group now and be like, here's the recording. Here's everything you said. Because I was kind of fumbling.
I love it. I love that they're thinking through these issues. Like, I love that you followed them from freshman to senior. My oldest daughter had that experience with a small group leader, and it made such a huge difference. And they're still connected. Like 3 years later, the girls are still connected. So that's a huge, like, as a dad who experienced that, thanks for doing that. Because that
You're welcome. I think what
so
you
valuable.
mentioned is I thought I knew about teens until I had these girls. I actually know nothing. It's like, Lord, help me just be present and love on them. So it's been super humbling, and they're precious. And thanks for being on. Let's do it again.
Of course. Hey, before I forget, podcast 50 is a coupon code for anybody listening that wants to. Oh,
yes.
Podcast 50.
Okay, so this is for the event?
For the event, yeah.
Okay, so they'll get $50 off.
Podcast 50. Come to Nashville. Yes. It's the best city to visit. So
you're bringing all the gifts today. Hey, let's do it again. Thanks.
We will. Thanks, Courtney.
Okay, take care.
Christian parenting.